All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Goose, and Heck. Mind Bro, in this episode, the crew dives into rapid questions on numerous topics for your entertainment. We cover topics from various subjects that range from superpowers, conspiracy theories, music, history, traveling, and much, much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Joseph Campbell and John F. Kennedy. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Gentlemen.
Ew, we at 300. 300.
300.
Got that
AKA
300 now.
Sparta. So for this monumental episode number 300, we decided to have some fun. But seriously, think about it. 300. How many things you've done in your life, in all seriousness, 300 times? I'm sure there's a handful, and I'm sure there's a handful that not so much. But 300 times. Think about that.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful.
It's actually more than that too, right? Because when we first started, we had a bunch that we didn't air. So we're over 300.
True. So the official number, 300. That is true. So we have some in the bank, I guess you would say.
Still 300 plus weeks.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's crazy.
That's
six plus years. That's crazy. All right, so like I said, for this particular episode, 300, aka Sparta, we want to have some fun. So we're kind of gonna just go around, ask very random questions, and again, this is for entertainment purposes only, and for the listeners / viewers to get a little bit more insight on who we are, our thought processes in a very fun way. So. Speaking of powerful, what superpower do you wish you always had? Goose.
Superpower. Oh man.
I wish she had scissors for hands.
No.
Well, that's definitely one option.
Kind of like read the future, like predict the future. You know what I mean? Like know what's like be that step ahead of everything. Like if I know what's gonna happen tomorrow, like I can be that step ahead and prepare myself for tomorrow.
Nice. I wish I could go back into time.
Yeah.
Or to go back in time. Yeah. I'm just like obsessed with everything retro. The other day I was watching Dick Van Dyke, basically black and white. Danica goes, "Dad, you're old." I'm like, why? She's like, because you like black and white shows, and that's old. I was like, okay, cool.
That was like you broke up a little bit, but it was like almost like it was planned. The way it happened, You're like, whoa, you're old. It was perfect.
Like with me, like predicting the future, right? If I know something like negative was gonna happen, like I would try to, you know what I mean? I read it, I know it's gonna happen. I'll try to stop and like change that, like a car accident's gonna happen.
I like it. Gabe, what about you?
It's not like I guess it's probably somewhat cliche, but like I guess flying or like super speed is like I guess one of the weird ones, but just being able to get somewhere quickly without having to or worrying about like transportation and all stuff. Just you get up and go.
Man, I was gonna say that too. Just be somewhere in an instant. There's just so many things, and if you think about professional athletes or celebrities, or anyone who just travels for a living, or commutes at a good distance. I mean, there's a lot of times where just to be back, and I don't mind working, but just to avoid the traffic and just be in my next location at a snap of the fingers, like my son's baseball game. If I'm done work at 6 and snap my finger at 6:01, I'm standing right at the baseball field, just watching him play, and the game just about to get started, or just traveling. Obviously, when we're traveling, it depends on what we're doing, because sometimes that's part of the experience. But if it's it would be on my end. It would be more used to, like during the week, so to speak, like just to be places at a much rapid pace. Just be home quicker with my family or something like that.
Yeah. Like with me, going back in time is like we always talk about like our grandparents and see how they were, even seeing how Pop was a kid and stuff like that. Like just being there to see how it was to. I'm just like so intrigued with everything that's like from the 20s and on. Like it's just intriguing to me. Everything from the style of clothing to the way they talk to transportation, like the types of vehicles. You know what I mean? Like it's just amazing how like back in the day you used to get dressed up just to go out anywhere. To go into the bodega down the street, you had slacks and shoes or boots. You didn't have sneakers, and you wore a fedora, you wore a Jimmy cap or something, and kept it moving.
Absolutely. So speaking of the time thing, would you rather live in the 1800s or the 3000s? So basically, 200 years ago, or 1,000 years ahead of us, basically.
Yeah.
So it's or I mean, that's a generic question, or maybe it's 200 years in the past or 200 years in the future. We could also just go with that.
That's either way a big gap. I mean, obviously 1,000 years is such dramatic, but I mean,
it's hard to fathom actually.
I mean, I would go 200 back. I'll go back. I mean, obviously, like you just said, all your ancestors and stuff. Like you're curious on how they lived and like their lifestyle. Like we've heard, like through history books and stuff, like what they did, whatever. But I would actually want to like experience it. I don't know what that would be. I guess it'd be depending on what part of the world we're at or whatever. But I would definitely go back. The future, I don't know, man. That's tough because I don't know what the heck.
What you're going into?
Flying cars, jetpacks. Everyone's just like talk about transportation being like teleporting. That might be then.
Might be like the Jetsons.
It's funny because your first response was you wanted to be able to predict the future.
Right. You don't want to go there?
Well, like you're saying, like as far as like a superhero power, like to predict the future, but to like stop the bad things that are happening. You know what I mean? Like protect everyone that's like
the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one for me. We're moving at such a rapid pace. I feel like there's a lot of benefits if you go either way. There's a lot of pros and cons if you go either way. Like I couldn't imagine going 200 years in the future and then coming back. There's a lot you can do with that information. I'm not sure if you'd be able to apply what you just saw and the knowledge you gained. If that's true, then obviously that could be beneficial in a slew of reasons and ways. But to go back 200 years, I think there'd be a massive appreciation of how far we've come. And then a lot of obvious historical and familial value there that is just, you can't really put a price on that. And then maybe even encountering, obviously you'd be encountering or having the ability to encounter some of your ancestors and, you're going several generations back just to see how things were and operated and maybe get a better understanding of how and why you are where you are or who you are.
It is pretty crazy because like heck, you just said you're like intrigued by like the 1920s. We're in 2020, so 100 years ago, like whatever from history, like read from 1920 to now, 100 years, like a lot of things have changed. Like technology. So imagine going 2 times that, like 200 years back.
200 years ago,
crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it all the time about the Roaring 20s and just the high level of interest there is there with prohibition and a ton of things. But I wonder as well, to Goose's point, you fast forward 100 years, here we are in 2020. Will they be reading the same similar things? Like, man, I wish I was born in 2020. They're in the middle of a pandemic. They're in the middle of cryptocurrency was just getting started. No one really knew what it was. Electric cars were, sort of new, and technology was just kicking off, and social media was fairly new. So I wonder, if there were people like that, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there was. Like in the 20s, they're just living it. They're not knowing maybe necessarily how cool it may have been. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
sure.
They're not realizing they're doing life. They're making history, right? Like, we don't know that we're making history by being on a podcast, right? So at the 1920s, they didn't know they're making history from all that time doing what they're doing on a norm.
300 episodes, dude. We're making history.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I think about this all the time with like taking advantage of the times, right? It's like, heck, I know me and you, we talk about this every once in a while. It's like taking advantage of the internet and profiting off of it somehow, where in the future, this might be considered, this era might be considered like the wild, wild west, where there wasn't so much regulation. There's regulation, but there wasn't,
right.
So as intense or, closely looked at as maybe in the future. What if this is all banned? And then there's another thing where it's like back in the day, smoking tobacco or just habits of that nature was a very normal thing. People, you didn't get like ridiculed for it. Not saying it was good or bad. I'm just saying like what lifestyle habits we're living currently where they're going to look back in 100 years like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they thought that was healthy or that was normal.
Right.
And we later find out it was horrible.
Yeah. It's like talk about that. Like back in the day, chewing tobacco, they had spittoons inside like doctors' offices. Like the most nasty bacteria, gross, but it was like common thing to walk by like a spittoon like at the front door.
Well, there was even doctor recommended cigarettes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they smoked like. I remember, it's
just crazy when you change it. Well, even like the back in the day, where obviously we had restaurants with smoking sections and all that stuff, which is like so weird now.
You could have gone to the mall, walk around
people's houses, visiting friends and family. If they smoke, they just smoked in the house while you're all just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your freaking leaf smell like a cigarette. I remember being a kid coming at home like that, smell like that. That's crazy.
That's awesome. All right, so we'll move on to the next question. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Well, right now, I would go to Australia, down under. The country under us.
Why is that?
Why? Just for, the
koala bears, kangaroos.
Koala bears, kangaroos, the accent, just to see they're like.
I had some good Barbie. They call barbecue. Barbie.
Yeah, just like for the culture thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. My thing. I would like to go to Hawaii. I'm still stuck on Hawaii. I just love the culture. Just watching TV shows and the episodes are in Hawaii. It's like, dude, this place is so beautiful and it's a freaking volcano. Like it's really, it's crazy. It's baffling and how beautiful it is. I'm just like stuck on that. So hopefully one day I'll make it there.
Love it. Gabe?
I guess it would be like to something like across the world. Like I guess it would be like either like some kind of like Asian, like Japan or something, or even something like in like that weird something that's like totally different from like our personal culture. Because like just kind of like go there and just like throw yourself in there and just like see what not see what the biggest difference is, but
see the
experience
culture and the
experience the culture shock, I guess, of it, of like how we live things here and just over there.
Lord, yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I would love to visit Spain. that is like my
Europe.
that is definitely on my bucket list for sure. Specifically Andalusia, Seville. I just would love to see, where most of our ancestors started, just to like you guys, even just to go back to what you guys are saying, just a totally different lifestyle, totally different culture. Just almost like that shock, just to feel that, like, wow. And none of us need to necessarily even go outside of the United States to feel that, but
Sure.
I
true.
think it's just the traveling aspect. I think when people think of that, it's almost like, all right, well, let me, at least if I'm going to give an answer, take advantage of a distance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where some of these other things, even if we have not yet visited, they're more accessible than others, taking a long, airplane ride or boat to the far distant areas. But man, I think to visit, every continent it should be a goal. I think to say I've been around the world.
Yeah, seriously.
And just to get quote cultured. I think we have great backgrounds and things like that, but I just think it's a great thing to, I guess, experience what else is out there and have that higher appreciation.
Yeah.
Than what we already have. I think it's just cool.
Yeah.
They agree.
But yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, so like you said, show appreciation, because like you go to other cultures and they're like, we live in America and everybody wants to be part of America, but like going to another country might want to make you change the ways you see things in America. You know what I mean? Like how much for granted we take things for, and what we, you know what I mean? Like it's just crazy.
Appreciate what you do or don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
We agree.
If you were immortal for a day, what would you do? If you were immortal for a day.
Like you can't be harmed for anything.
What's that?
Like you just can't be harmed by anything.
Correct.
Right. I don't know what I would do.
I think for me,
Why?
maybe for everyone. I shouldn't answer for everyone, but I feel like if you're going to be immortal, right, shouldn't you do everything you fear the most, right? Like your biggest fears.
Yeah, true.
Like, you go after all of your fears because then they're your fears for a reason, right? And
you just push everything to
the limit.
And go through them.
Yeah.
I think maybe like a crazy like skydive and then like a deep sea dive.
That kind of makes sense. Like stuff
actually,
that you've never tried like that.
I was thinking like, oh, just skydiving or something, and just I mean, you can probably even do it without a parachute at that point, but
yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, nothing's gonna happen at that point, but
walk through a jungle, like just
or
you're
like
gonna be immortal, right?
Swim in the ocean without like taking a breath. Just keep swimming.
Yeah. You can make more discoveries at that point. Just go to the bottom of the ocean at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it definitely has to be facing all the fears, and to go to the point I was making previously. I think we immediately go to extremes.
Yeah.
You say,
because there's like a lot of basic things that we could probably do. I think I don't even know if you need to be immortal to overcome.
Sure.
But I think there's even fears that are smaller, and maybe having the thought process that I am immortal and can go through this as a form of encouragement and I don't know, just a mindset almost.
Yeah, right. Nothing will affect you, basically.
Yeah. I also think it goes on the other end. It's like there's that risk, right? So you're gonna take all the risks possible because you're going to be immortal. But I think it's to the point I was trying to make was like maybe taking risks for things that you're even just on a border on, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe it's your next investment. Like, should I invest in real estate today? But if I know it's going to be immortal, I'm like, well, I know I'm going to live past this experience, so why not just try it?
Right.
And become, and live through it. Maybe I live through it very poorly because it'll be a bad investment, but at least I know I will be alive. Yeah, I think that can go both ways, but I do think it's interesting. We always go for the high risky things, but I think it's important that you do that. It's crazy though, because I just saw a video. It was like this pilot who was in a helicopter, and it appeared to be like his friends. I think he got his license. I think he did everything the right way, and it was his first time flying them, and he crashed it. He safely landed, but it wasn't considered a crash. It was rough, and he was like apologizing to everybody. Everyone was safe, but that takes a lot of guts. First of all, to just do that by yourself, to learn, because you have to have, I believe, so many flying hours, to do all of the above, let alone take your friends out on a helicopter. And I don't know, man. Maybe they'll have trust issues with this guy moving forward. Yeah. But I gotta be honest with you. The first thing I thought of was like, wow, that guy has a lot of guts. I mean, seriously, just to do it is one thing.
Yeah.
But put loved ones in the air with you, and you're trusting your own ability. I'm not so sure. I'm that confident in myself, but that's what I gave credit to. So it was like, it makes you like question yourself, actually.
Yeah.
Like, how confident are you? Seriously, he was that confident that he took his boys up in the air with him.
Right. Was it his plane or somebody else's plane?
I don't know like the specifics, but you could tell they were all the same age. It just I felt that's what it was. And the way he apologized, it's all good, bro. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. You can tell they're all like shooken up.
Yeah.
We got to like the stuff that they were saying made it seem that way.
Yeah. I mean, were they confident in him? Like with their attitude, like the way they responded and reacted, were they felt confident after or before?
I mean, obviously they went in the air with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So, next question. If you had an intro song that played every time you walked into a room, what would it be?
Wow.
I was thinking like Wayne, the right above it, like that trumpet sound, like
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Little intro hook, whatever, kind of going, walk in, little trumpet start playing.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. What song is that from? Is that with Drake and Wayne?
Yeah. Yep.
Mine would be that Jay-Z John.
Encore.
Yeah, song. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That was my one song.
Encore. Actually, just the intro, really. Just the
horns.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, instrumental. Just the instrumental. We do.
Instrumental. Yeah. The same goes with All of the Lights. Kanye has like that same like powerful horns. That's unique. But if I was being like childish, I would come into either Stone Cold Steve Austin's with the glass shattering when he first opened it, or like the Ultimate Warrior. It's like, he just goes in like shaking the ropes. That'd be classic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I would walk into. There's so many. It's
funny because we're like very into watching Major League Baseball, and the team that is our home team is the Philadelphia Phillies. And when you go to the home, and they might do this at every stadium. And actually, now that I think about it, they probably likely do. But when every player is up to bat, they have a theme song that they pick.
Yeah.
And so when they're walking up the bat, they're playing it. So I thought of that right away. And some of the guys pick, very humorous instrumentals or songs. Then one pick like whatever's in style, or of that era, like brand new. That's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
that's always cool to listen to.
So they
when I
did that.
read-
They did that for one of Lainey's games. Like I think it was her last home game or something like that for in-house. They told
Yeah.
all the girls pick your songs, and every time you're up at bat, that's gonna play and go up.
That's
So
all.
yeah, so it was pretty cool. The girls were excited because the other team is like dancing and then singing along, and then they stop it and like, oh, we're gonna finish it. Like it was pretty cool. Got the girls a little hyped.
Then it makes you like, oh, what's next? What's that other person's like song? Like it gets in.
Yeah.
What's gonna play next? What do you like? That's awesome.
So Heck, what's your song?
I'm thinking, man. This is so many.
The Steve Irwin.
I don't even know. You know what? The Pee Wee
Urkel.
Herman song.
Urkel.
Tequila.
Tequila.
Nah.
What more horns, if anything.
More horns, right?
Steve Herman thing.
All right, next question. What is one of your favorite meals?
My goodness. I don't think I have one.
Yo, mine. I love food all together, but
Or one of?
my if mommy was like, oh, what do you want? Whatever, it's your birthday. What do you want? What do you want to? Mine is like white rice, pork chops with gandules. Like that's like pork chop, white rice, gandules, and like tostones on the side. Like that's like that's my. I mean, it might not be my favorite like all time. I think that's like my all time favorite go to though. Like if someone's asking me, pork chops right off the rip.
Yeah,
You know,
mine
is basically that same exact thing. Replace the pork chops with fried chicken.
Chicken, yeah.
So mine is, and I just made it just so happened yesterday. White rice, white beans, and chicken all day with potatoes and the beans. It's so good.
Yep.
Gabe, what you got, Gabe? What you
Hey,
like
were
to
you gonna
eat?
make pizza?
Some pizza, yeah, perfect. No, kind of in that realm, but like I actually like one of the go-to things is like chicken parm. I guess is like something.
Yeah,
like,
that's
something different.
Yeah.
We can eat rice and beans and stuff all the time. It was like chicken parm is like you do once in a while, and it's like it's good. Like when you get a real good one, because I think one of my friends makes like their parents make homemade like everything. So
Oh yeah. That's so good.
What food do you currently eat that you did not as a kid and you enjoy now?
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna say peppers. Like every time there would be peppers put in food, like mommy will cook with peppers and put in the beans and stuff like that, or even like a fried pepper. I just would pluck it out. Now, I'll eat them all day. I don't. It doesn't faze me. I'll eat them like in a dip. I'll eat it like in my food and stuff.
Yeah.
My thing was broccoli. Like I wasn't a broccoli person when I was a kid. Now, like I don't know. I don't mind. I like want to make steamed broccoli and stuff, or whatever, broccoli and some things, or it doesn't bother me. Like, but when I was a kid, I'd go bananas. Like, ew, this is so gross. Like, I mean, that's
a good one. Broccoli's a good one. Asparagus is another one for me.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I had it as often, but I just think it was just, I don't know, I became an adult and I just appreciated it. I don't know. Same thing with oh my gosh, it was just on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, Gabe, you go ahead.
I'm trying to think. Like, it seems like we're all talking about like vegetables and stuff. So I was like,
well, yeah. I mean, who the heck really likes to eat vegetables, right? So I remember my first time when I see broccoli and cheddar. I was like, ew, that looks gross. Like it's broccoli. But then I was like, and then I see it on the commercials or on TV or whatever, and they made it look so good with the cheese on top of it. So needless to say, I tried it, and it was I
didn't like it.
No, pretty much barfed in my mouth. I was like, that's crazy. No. I just thought the cheese was going to flavor it. You know what I mean? Switch it up. Didn't do nothing.
And as you get older, you learn how to season things the way you like it and all that stuff anyway, too. So, I mean, I was thinking things like carrots and like, or even like peas and stuff like that. It's like, I never really liked that stuff as a kid, but like, same, like if it's cooked right, if it's seasoned right, then you can pretty much eat any of that stuff now, especially mixing with other stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, what food do you currently avoid at all costs?
Fish.
You want any kind of fish?
All
Any
fish?
kind of fish, shellfish, she-fish, she-shell, seashells, everything.
So just seafood in
Selfie.
general.
Bro, you're missing out on some good food there.
That's your opinion.
Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Yellow
Right.
fin.
And I'm not saying that I'm just saying I don't care for it. I avoid it at all costs.
Gabe?
The smell of it gets to me.
It's funny because
The taste, it's the smell.
I guess I like the cousins, obviously like platanos and like, tostones and stuff like that, but I don't like bananas.
Oh, wow.
Like,
this is-
but I'll eat the sweet, like the plantains, but I don't like
So,
a regular
see?
banana.
Dude, I'm opposite. I'm not
opposite.
a fan with the sweet at
The
all.
maduros, I do not like the
Yes.
maduros. I'll eat
I
a
don't like
plátano and I'll eat a regular banana. But maduros, I
Olives,
can't do
you
that.
can miss me with the olives. I don't like that at all. I think it's more of a texture thing. Well, there's the maduro is one thing, but the olives, there's something about the texture and that little thing that the pit that just like pushes out. There's something that's more of a texture than it is a taste. Same thing with pickles.
Okay.
I think it's more. It's not necessarily a taste. I think it's more of just a texture, that weird crunch that I get.
Yeah.
I can see why people like it and how they like it, but for some reason it just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I'm not an olives person. But talking about the pickles thing, right? So me and Ava and Laura, we went to Peller's Village, and there's a store that has like all kinds of like spices, right? They have like all kinds of spices you use to cook, but then they have like there's different brands of like homemade hot sauce, different kinds of spicy mustards. Then they have beef jerky, but they also have like those canned, those jarred pickles, and they're like all different flavors. Like dude, I'm like, it was some like garlic something pickle. I'm like, dude, this sounds so good. Like, so I bought it and I came home and I cracked it open and I just put one pickle in my mouth. I'm like, yeah, this is gross. But I think it's like what you're saying. I think it's a texture thing.
Yeah, it's a texture.
It's like, I don't know. It was like, I put it in my mouth. It was kind of like slimy in a way, but like crunchy too. I don't know. It was weird, but like, honestly, and I wish I loved it. Like, I wish I could like eat the whole jar. But then Ava would sit there and she'll pull them out and eat the whole thing. Like,
and the reason, so to that point though, it's so funny because at that point, I used to love cantaloupe and watermelon, but on both occasions, I had I had just an off bite of each at separate occasions. This watermelon was slimy, and it just had and the cantaloupe the same thing. I bit into it, and it just had this like film of slimy, like just, and it
was sitting outside.
It also didn't taste right. Like it didn't taste like the fresh.
It's weird though. So we just had some cucumbers from the neighbors. They gave us some cucumbers. Lauren diced it up, and she put like some seasoning on it. Dude, and I ate that like nothing. It was good.
Yeah.
But it's just so weird. It's just like, I don't know. I think I guess because it was like fresh. The freshness of it was good. Not something that was sitting in a jar and like it was like aged for a certain amount of time. I don't know.
What's one of your favorite fruits? Now that we're talking about fruits.
Mine's watermelon all day, dude. I can buy a watermelon, cut it in half, and just spoon it and just keep eating that whole thing. Gabe, I'm not spooning you. I'm saying
Gabe got happy.
Spooning up a big old watermelon.
Gabe?
I'm trying to think.
It doesn't have to be your absolute favorite. Just one of.
Gabe's gonna say like a tomato.
I'm gonna go with strawberries. We have so many strawberries here. Phoenix is obsessed with strawberries. So like he'll sit down and we'll slice them up, and me and him would just go back and forth eating strawberries. I didn't show him the bad habit of dipping it in sugar yet, because that's banging. Strawberries and sugar.
You haven't got that yet.
That sugar rush yet.
I guess like grapes. I guess that's like an easy one to like.
Did you ever have like the
cotton candy grapes?
Oh
dude,
yeah.
Like, dude, how they're like manipulating the flavor of a damn grape?
Yeah. To make it like that weird sweet sugar.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. But first, I would say a very underrated fruit, in my opinion. It's juicy and it has all the above characteristics and still has that crisp, like sort of crunch, not as much as an apple, and not as soft as a pear, but perfectly right in between would be a plum.
Oh yeah,
nice, small, juicy. Woo.
Yeah.
But speaking of the manipulation of flavoring foods, one of the questions we have here, it's actually at the top of the list. What conspiracy theory do you think might be true?
Yeah, hold on. Going back, first of all, like, so you're talking about manipulating. Why? So why was like a tomato, right? It's a vegetable, but it's really a fruit.
No, it's really a fruit. It's always been a fruit because it's got a seed in the inside.
I see, but consider that as a vegetable. And like, isn't it the same thing as like an avocado too?
Avocado is a fruit.
But all right. You eat it as like a vegetable. You don't eat it like.
Yeah, it's served like a vegetable, but it's classified as a fruit.
Yeah,
like I'm very sweet and Heck's a very bitter person, but we're both humans and brothers at that.
That didn't work so well.
See how bitter? You proved my point.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot out there. There's flat Earth. There's wow. I mean, there's the whole thing with how the pyramids got there. If there's aliens,
Mount Rushmore.
What about do you guys think that there's extraterrestrial life outside of humans out there?
Yeah, we went straight from fruits to freaking aliens.
Conspiracy. You guys were flavoring cotton candy grapes, so I saw this was a question at the top.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's all science. I feel like there's scientific errors.
Scientific errors.
Something within, if we turn to like, oh shit, this just happened. Like, I just feel like that's just. I don't think no one's gonna. Who, like, seriously, going back to the grapes, like, who's gonna say I want grapes to taste like cotton candy? Like,
sure.
That is like the most bizarre thing to think of. Like, it's genius, but I'm saying like that's like who's gonna sit here like, oh, I want to see how I can make this happen.
So you're saying a UFO is a conspiracy is scientific error?
No, I'm just no. It could be aliens. Could be a scientific error. Who knows?
I mean, apparently they've been on technology from when aliens first started, because they were flying ships and laser beaming people, is what we know, right? Not that we know, but what we see and what they kind of show it as. So I mean, and that's been going on for years and years and years and years. Like, really,
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I mean, to Goose's point, it could be that's not at all what it is, and that could be a scientific error. That's what we think it is because that's what they're showing us.
Right.
But I anyway with where that is, I do believe that I just think, and I think I said this on a previous episode where this topic came up. I just think that there's just the galaxy, the universe, it's just so vast for me to believe that we're the sole living things on this earth or in this universe. It just sounds immature, naive. It just sounds like, okay. Because you got to figure out, like, what is the reasoning then? You know what I mean? They're like, you read like an article like 2 weeks ago that they just found like 9 other galaxies. You're just like, all right. So we're so important. I mean, what is the point of all these galaxies? What is the point of all these stars in the sky? And we can try to define all that, and everything has to do with some level of pull or gravitational pull or push, whatever you want to call it.
And logically,
we're just in the mix of it all. We're just a result.
Yeah, and logically speaking, something else has to exist that.
Yeah, there's also
similar.
Like the world too. Like I said, with the ocean and stuff, how deep that goes. And I just get like oh, they're not like our size, or dude, they can be microscopic, and it could be a whole nother thing, or they could be like 1,000 times our size, and we are microscopic. Like, it's. I just feel like we don't just because we don't see another like formality like our size or our shape. It's like, oh yeah, there's nothing out there, or they're not. It's not, dude. It could be in so many different shapes and forms.
I mean, think about humans, just humans. Think about all the races in the world and all the shapes and sizes of humans, right? And you could have somebody could have, an illness or something like that can lead them to appear a specific way. They could be from one part of the world that can make them appear and look a certain way. And if you were to put these two humans together, they would not look like the same species, so to speak.
Right.
And language, they probably can't even communicate with each other because they literally speak two totally different languages. I mean, we see it just here versus two very large languages, the English language and the Spanish language. And just as basic as that may sound, people still can't even communicate with just those two.
Yeah.
If someone only speaks Spanish, what I'm saying, and only speaks English to another person, even they're struggling to communicate. So even within our own world, things appear to be extremely different. Mm-hmm. I could only imagine, and to Goose's point, we have all these depictions and things to that nature that it's almost like, again, just naive to think we're the only ones. And
dude, it's just so weird. Like, so a couple years ago, I had like a salt fish tank, right? A small little salt fish tank, and I had like two little clownfish, and I'm staring at them. They're like, dude, their colors are beautiful, whatever. Then I had a sea anemone. Sea anemone is what like they kind of go into. And this thing's a living organism, like so it's like it's moving around. That's like where they live. And then I also had two like horsefish, like seahorse fish. Dude, I'm sitting here looking at just this little like thing. It was like I think it was like a 20-gallon tank I had. And I'm like, yo, like looking at their structure was so crazy. Like looking at the seahorse structure, I'm like, this thing's like, it looks whimsical. Like doesn't look like, and I have it in my presence. Like it's like a real thing, right? So I'm like, dude, this is what people have captured in like whatever. Like I said, the underworld. Imagine what's below, way, way, way in that dark, like, dude. Because like, if you ever see a seahorse in person, dude, it's the craziest looking Skeletor thing with wings. It's flying around.
Yeah,
dude, it like blow your mind if you ever see one like in person. Like it's so strange. I'm like, dude, and that's at our surface. Imagine what's below, way like far below that we can't even get to. It's like so strange. How do
I think another one is consciousness, like floating, or if you can just like bob and weave in and out of consciousness and realms, spiritual realms. That in itself, you don't even have to physically go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you have like all this, like astral traveling and all these things like that. Astral projection.
Like,
and it's just
to even like the basics, like you look at people back in the day, why did they look so much older? Like watching TV shows, why did they look so much older than what we do today? Like a 40-year-old guy on a black and white TV show just looked old. And now you look at a 40-year-old guy now, and it doesn't look that old. It looks like a younger, we've
definitely made it health advances, right? I mean, we're finding out that if you brush your teeth twice a day or 3 times a day, your teeth will stay and not, look like wooden. And then also like deficiencies in vitamins and the food that they were eating, and we could take a multivitamin now or something like that. So there are health aspects that can help us look better, look younger, or even be healthier.
Yeah,
I do know what you mean, but yeah, there are advances in that sense.
Yeah,
but I do think awareness is all of it. I mean, I think it all boils down to an awareness. Is honestly just being aware, having the knowledge of something. Just the experience, right? And you hear this question all the time. It's like, oh, what would you do differently if you could talk to the 15-year-old you? What would you tell him? Why is that even a question? because you're more experienced now than you were then, right? You have more of an awareness of how life works now versus that you did then.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You know, there's a different awareness of an adult versus an adult with a child. You just have a totally different human nature awareness of what that relationship is. You just do.
I'm saying, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that goes back to what you said earlier. Would you go 200 years forward, 200 years backwards? I would go 200 years backwards of my knowledge from now, and I know what the past is. It's scary to go forward because you don't know what there is, you know? Like it's like you said, it's awareness and knowledge of what you know. So it's scared to like go forward without knowing anything. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to step into. So I'd rather go backwards because I do know what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, going back to that question, you hear people say, "Oh, if I knew then what I know now, boom, 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 boom. This is all." You know what I mean? What does that boil down to? They're not saying money. They're not saying blah, blah, blah. It might eventually lead to these things, but it's because they're having a much more an aware state of the way life operates. Not saying that's the know all, you know, end all be all. But it's definitely more developed than you were even last year.
That's like what Goose is saying, to travel 100 years from now. Okay, so say you do travel 100 years from now, you come back with what you saw in the future, nobody's going to believe you because they don't know. People believe of what already had happened, right? And that's like when Biggie, when he put in the rap about the Twin Towers, nobody paid any mind to that. Then all of a sudden something happened and somebody referenced it. They're like, yo, Biggie already stated that years back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, so then that's you going into the future. You're going to say, oh, so and this and that happened. And nobody's going to believe you until it happened. They're like, oh, Miguel was right because he went up 200 years or 100 years ago or 100 years in the future to see all this. And he was telling us about it and we didn't know nothing about it. So, I mean, I feel like there are people that actually see the future, state it, but because it doesn't happen, nobody's really taking focus on it and advertising it as much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's proof and application. I mean, you got like the Nostradamuses of the world, and you know, there's like 4 or 5 people that predict things, you know, 200 years ago or wherever, you know, their era was, that X, Y, and Z events, world events, are going to unfold, and it's, you know, it's really the application of it. I mean, is it useful? Can I apply this now? A lot of people, you can't, right? Because it didn't happen yet. Or like you said, if you go into the future and you bring back a piece of technology, how relatable is it to what we currently have? Like, how can I even apply this if that technology is going to need X, Y, and Z stages for me to get to? Even just a wireless phone. If you just brought a cell phone to the 1920s, and you know, we're talking about 100 years, right? And you know, you bring that there, they're gonna look at you like, yeah, cool, but we don't even have a charger for you. Like, you can't even charge it, right? And so, like, we don't even have like the prongs for you to like plug it into. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool that you could bring back a piece of technology, but how applicable is it going to even be for that era that you're coming back to?
Dude, and that's, you're talking about 100 years ago. Imagine freaking, just even with the cell phones 10 years ago, I just had to like do like a update with my phone with like my memory, and it's all in the cloud. 10 years ago, it was all going like a little what the hell, little drive thing.
USB card or a thumb drive
SD.
or SD card.
And that gets filled up, you pull that out and put another one in. Like,
yeah.
And now it's just everything just goes in the cloud somewhere. Like, freaking.
It's crazy.
Loping.
We're living through it, and it's still like, how the heck does this work?
Exactly.
For me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even what we're doing right now, we're having a virtual meeting. Again, if we went back
in the 60s, the Jetsons were doing this. And
we're telling them we're having a virtual meeting. You have the one phone. You can't have a meeting with yourself. I mean, you can, but you'd probably be...
Dude, this is so crazy. Being a kid in 3rd grade, going to the Franklin Institute, right? And they had like an old, like, it was a rotary.
Oh, my God.
There was a picture on there, right? And then on the other side of the room, they had another one. And then you could like pick up the phone and like talk to the person across the other's line, but you can actually see them. But like I remember talking and like your verbiage and everything was like delayed. I'm like, oh yeah, well that's like the future. I'm like, never in a million years thought that we'd be using it though. Like right now for business, for everything. Like that was just like, that's what like guys a rich person would have, you know?
Right, but it's as simple as it goes back to the '60s when the Jetsons were made. Right, they had everybody lived up in the sky, right, up in the clouds, and they all had their own town, and everything they did, they virtual. Everything was virtual. They had robots doing their laundry, doing all their stuff. They had video cameras that were taught. They were video conferencing, kind of like what we're doing now. They had machines that were bringing food out to them. They had all this stuff, like it was all robots. So I mean, that was in the '60s. They were, I guess, technically predicting to happen in the future at some point, right? I mean, the only thing right now we don't have so far yet is the flying cars, which everyone always said by 2000 that's when we'll have flying cars. But I mean,
how far behind?
Yeah, I mean,
no,
I think
we're getting there.
I think we're there. I think the technology, I think it's, yeah, I think it's there. I just think the technology, it's almost like the, what are this flying things called?
Drones.
It's just
the
like
drones, yeah.
The problem with the drone is that if you have one that a human can sit in, it's like a helicopter. Yeah. It's just too loud. It makes no sense. It'll blow everything away around it. It's just not feasible. It just doesn't make sense. You have to figure out how can we do that without the noise, without all the motion and commotion. Imagine taking a drone, like if you work night shift and you got to go from here, to Jersey somewhere, 20 miles, 30 miles, and you wake up all your neighbors just because you could afford having a drone sitting on the top of your roof of your house and just take off. I mean, I think the ability's there. I just think that the technology's there. I think they really do got to piece it together. Really even makes sense. Is it necessary? I'm not so sure. With electric cars, I think we're getting challenged on that. But anyway, if you could pass, this is the dad life one. If you could pass one talent / attribute onto your children, what would it be? Maybe you already did, but just for fun of the show here.
Always be happy. Always have a smile on your face. Like, just make the best of everything. That's why I always tell them, just make the best of it. I mean, we're all here, right? You get mad at things, just make the best of it. Forget about it. It happened.
Yeah. I agree. I think the same thing, just having that positive, raises that positive energy, that positive aura about you. And knowing you have the ability to overcome. I just think that can get you very far, just even within your own mind. In your own mind growth, just as a human. That and then an intense level of gratitude, just intently thankful for everything you have. Just thankful that the lock on my front door works tonight. And thankful that I have transportation to go from here to my job.
My car started.
Thankful for that this phone is currently functioning and not dealing with a technical issue, right? There's so much to be thankful for. And I think we take a lot for granted. Everyone does. There's just some people who
absolutely
express it a little bit better, I think, anyway. And I think that's a cool attribute to have. Goose or Gabe, anything?
No, just for me, it's like find your talent. Find your talent. Find what you're really good at. Master it, because that's what you'd be most valuable at. Like for me, I found my talent at a young age, but I never thought I was going to use it or apply it until I got older. Like I just didn't make. To me, I didn't think it was a thing. But like, once you find your talent, you're good at it. Your value is so high that like no one can replace it, and everyone's gonna want you as an individual, whatever it is. Like you guys, Dave, you guys are like techie guys. Like whatever you guys do, that's like, it's super valuable. Like Jim, whatever you do at work, like you're valuable. You're an asset to your company. But like there's some people that are so diverse and they just like fall in a place. It's like, okay, yeah, I can do all the above. That's good. But when you find that special niche, and you kill it like above everyone, then like your value is so high. So it's just like, and that could be anything. You could just be like, you could be like some kind of mentor. You know what I mean? You could be a teacher. You could be the best teacher and educate kids and whatever. It's whatever it is. It's just like, just be the best that you're at. I mean, be the best at it. So that just brings a high value to you.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, this one's for you. Final question. Would you rather live without internet or live without air conditioning and heating?
That's specifically for me.
Just for you, Gabe, since you didn't answer the other question.
That's a tough one, especially in the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, because we can deal with. I live without fans and all this stuff. I mean, I live without air conditioner and stuff. So I mean, I guess to some degree, I can live without that. It's hard with like just technology and stuff to be without internet in general.
I mean, I'm gonna jump in on there. I'm gonna say without heat or cold. You know what I mean? Because with the internet, you have the internet. There's so much at your hands that you can figure it out. Like you're not gonna have an air conditioner. You don't have an actual heater, but you can figure out how to make a fire to then cross it over to make you warm. Or same thing with cold, right? You know what I mean? Like the internet is there. The internet is going to show you on how to make something happen if you don't have it in your presence. So internet will take you a lot longer.
And it goes back to what we were talking about 100 years ago, 100 to 200 years ago.
Sure.
They didn't have air conditioning and heating.
No, they didn't.
So,
doesn't your be cool?
They didn't have internet either, but still, I think you can survive. Us as humans are built that way, right? But I think there are much more advantages. I'm not sure. It's a tough question, but I do believe that there's more that you can do, I guess, and figure out, especially when it comes to having knowledge at your fingertips, and you can figure out maybe how to get warmer and colder with via information that's on the internet. But anyway,
I agree.
Final question.
No.
Gabe agrees. Would you rather explore the depths of the ocean or outer space?
It kind of goes back to like the same, like the two extremes, and like of kind of doing the same thing, because we don't know what the bottoms, like those extreme depths, because we don't have the coming back forward, we don't have technology for that, and likewise, so for outer space, we don't have technology to go that far out outer space. So it's like we're almost kind of, we gotta decide whether we want to go in or out.
Dude, either one. They're both dark. I'm scared of the dark, yo. So you man go under the ocean, you don't know what the heck's there, and you see like, dude, something comes at you, same thing, you're out of space, and like you don't know what's coming at you.
ET coming at you from outer space, you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, both are, there's a lot of unknowns there. There's a lot of darkness there.
That's
both would for sure be explorations that I'd be intrigued for both, I think. Not really sure I could pick one or the other, but it's definitely a cool thought. All right, we're going to wrap this episode 300, aka Sparta, with a quote by John F. Kennedy. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. And the second one by Joseph Campbell. Follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. Mind Rome. In this episode, the crew dives into rapid questions on numerous topics for your entertainment. We cover topics that range from superpowers, conspiracy theories, history, traveling, and much, much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Joseph Campbell and John F. Kennedy.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.